When I first met Quincy, he was looking at the young women, chasing young women, and having fun, like he's always been doing since I've known him, which is plus, 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 before time.
But what was his job then, so to speak?
Well, his job was he was an arranger, at the time, all of us were a little young, in our 20s, or maybe some of us approaching 30. Quincy was probably one of the young crop of arrangers in jazz at the time. He was probably one of the most popular ones, along with Ernie Wilkins and a couple other guys. Quincy's been around a long time, let's face it, and he's been all over the map. Anywhere you want to stop, Quincy's there, including Russia.
Well, what about... Can I stop for a second? Yeah. Mike?
Let me know if I have any Russian viewers. Do y'all know who Quincy Jones is? How well known is he in Russia as well as other countries?
Is that little, and if you can put this in a topic sentence, what do you think has enabled Quincy in the business end to make it in the music business? I mean, yeah, he has these skills creatively, but from a business end.
Well, I think, one, you have to be determined, and when you revisit Quincy's earlier life, you look at his parents carefully, and certainly we don't want to go in that now, but I think Quincy was just determined to make it, and his sense of the way he timed everything, I've never met anybody and believe me, I've been here a couple of years longer than Quincy, and I've never met anybody that is so respected and loved. Sometimes I say the word love, that's Quincy's word. I never use it because it's confusing to me. But he is so liked, so respected. But beyond that, he is extremely talented. All you got to look at is look at his people that he's been involved with. And it's rarely you're going to find anybody, I believe, that I can't think of any other musician, if you want to call artist or whatever you want to call them, that has such a wide range of understanding of an artist's talent as Quincy Jones. I mean, you go from whether you're talking about the great one, Sinatra, you're talking about Big Maybelle, you're talking about Ray Charles, you're talking about Leslie Gore, or you're talking about Peggy Lee, Michael Jackson. I mean, Count Basie, where does it stop? There's nobody that I can think of. And all you have, including Ellington, which is my hero in terms of a musician. But even Ellington didn't have that kind of talent, so far as I'm concerned. Because I remember when he started with Mercury. And let me say from the beginning, say it quickly. He just happened to be black in a company where he became a vice president. But in today's world, which is 45, almost 50 years later, the term is used, vice president of black music. Bull. Quincy was vice president and just happened to, whether it was Leslie Gore or whether it was whoever it was, Clifford Brown or whoever it was, he fitted in, and it worked. And you have to give the guy credit because, I enjoy Quincy's talent because it's so versatile. I remember when he was recording the Brothers Johnson, and I said, man, this record, Strawberry Hills or whatever it was, I thought it was bull, and I kept listening, and Quincy said, man, you haven't heard it, you haven't listened to it correctly. And it's a brilliant song. When he did George Benson, when he did, what's her name, Donna Summers. I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, whether you're talking about rap, jazz, pop, whatever you want to call it, he's in it. And I can't think of no other person, I don't care who you name, producer-wise, that has that kind of talent.
Can you name a producer wise that has that kind of talent that he's speaking on? Let me know in the comments.
Take me back to those days of Mercury Records. You know, I just want to hammer that point, like, because you've been in this industry so long.
Wait a minute, man, not so long, but
Well,
I've been here a few years.
but
I mean, in other words, I've become an antique,
well, but you were there when he was one of the few, as you say now. There's not that many vice presidents doing
Of music.
Yeah.
Because music to me is colorless. That's what you got to look at,
But how did Quincy sort of break barriers in terms of the business world?
Because to be frank with you, very few things bother Quincy. If he makes up his mind, man, you ain't gonna change it. And I remember Leslie Gore, the little girl, everybody, this little bubblegum girl, kind of like Connie Francis. You say, what the F is Quincy doing with this? But he gave her a lot of hits. And back in those days, Irvin Green, God bless him, Irvin lives down in Palm Springs, down that area. And Irvin saw something in Quincy that the guy had a unique talent. I remember even when he lived in Paris, and one of the groups he recorded for Mercury was Take Six. Take Six, was it Take Six? I think it was
Double Six.
Double Six. Brilliant group. And it's one of my favorite records that Quincy's ever done. Of course, my all-time favorite with Quincy would probably be the Sinatra and Basie at the Sands Hotel. And then I would look at the next one, I would probably say the Brothers Johnson, that one song, Strawberry Hill, whatever it was. Then, of course, Michael's Off of the Wall, where nobody at CBS, Sony wanted him to be involved because they use the category where he's jazz my ass. Quincy is whatever comes up. I remember the last things he did with Sarah and Ella and those people. I went to the one session. I said, what the hell are these rap guys doing in here? But he's on top of it, man. He makes it work. I went to one session when he was doing with the Eagles, I call them, but with Lionel, Michael, and Diana, and Bruce Springsteen, and you name it, We Are the World. Who else could pull that off? You think about it. That's... So far as I'm concerned, the guy is... if you're going to use the word genius, then Quincy is a genius, period. You bar nothing, because if he makes up his mind, now, I'll tell you something now, Mo also used to call me, Mo said, Clarence, can you get him go in the studio? Because I could talk to him. It might be, he started the LP, it might be 6 years later when it's finished.
Let me know in the comments, who else do you put in that genius category?
But that's just the way he is, because, he changes his mind, he does this, does that. But he's on top of any sound that's out there. I guess you would say, he's very hip, if that's the term one wants to use.
What about how he inspires people? You mentioned before, it's not about fear, is it? How does Quincy inspire artists and make, how does he, once he sets his mind to it, it has to do with love, doesn't it?
Well, I can't, it's kind of like asking me, why is Spielberg successful? Or why is my favorite director of all time, Hitchcock, why was he successful? Or if you look at an actor like Marlon Brando, not now, but during his day, why was he successful? Why is Jack Nicholson successful at what he's doing? And, you got to look at those guys as being, I guess you'd say, they're very versatile. And Quincy is certainly, to me, I'll say it again, all due to respect to the dead, because I think that when I look at music today, it's computerized, and I'm not too into that. I'd rather go to a date and see 30 or 40 musicians or 20 musicians reading and playing. And Quincy, when I used to sneak in once in a while because I never cared for that much session stuff. It didn't ever. But when you go in and watch him working and watch him how he talks to an artist and even Sinatra, man, that's like talking to God, I guess. I mean, Sinatra was not an easy guy, but with Quincy, hey Q, so and so Q, what do you think, Q? Well, Frank, let's do this over, And so he was always had the artist relaxed. The artist was always friendly, shall we say. Some artists can be a pain in the ass. But with Quincy, he had a way of, and I don't use the word conning you, that's not fair. He had a way of expressing his thoughts, and he kindly was hopeful and that you would accept what he was saying. And so what I've seen of him, it's worked for him, period,
What about, I was sent the chapter that you wrote about him. What is it with Quincy and hugs?
Well, I don't think I've ever gone to Quincy's house unless he hugs me. He's had that 40 goddamn years, man. You say, what are you going to hug me for? I mean, and I always tease him about the word love because, I've been through the marriages, the girlfriends, and he gets attached. He's attached. And he hugs you and he loves you. Well, I ain't that kind of a guy, I mean, hey man, hey, how are you? Anything else? I'm not interested in being hugged all the time, but that's Quincy. That's just the way he is.
I know he confides in you about things obstacles that he faces. What when you think it through, what do you think has been the biggest obstacle for Quincy? Who's basically this huge success story. Everything he.
Well, I think everybody has. If you live long enough, you're going to have some problems. And whether it was about, and I shouldn't say this on tape, but one of his wives, his children, we always talked about it. And, because sometimes you have to get another opinion, and I remember one time when his son Snoopy was in a private school here in L.A., in Ohio, I think it was. And Quincy was on vacation with Steve and Courtney Ross and his in-laws. And Snoopy and Tina had gone back to Sweden to see their mother. And I had been given instructions that this is what takes place when they come back. His secretary had X amount of dollars and make sure Snoopy's so-and-so. Well, and this is a story that is extremely, so far as I'm concerned, was one of the few times I've seen him break down, shall we say. Snoopy decided he wasn't going to come back to Los Angeles, and that really bothered Quincy. So Quincy, I called him and told him, he was going to do this. I said, shut the F up. You're not going to do anything. I said, number one, I've talked to his mother, Ula, and it wasn't her who was, saying to him, you can stay in Sweden with me. She was trying to get him to come back. He just said, I don't want to come back to America at this time in my life. So what I had to do was try to put those two elements together so they could communicate one-to-one. Well, Snoopy wasn't going to come to Paris. Quincy wasn't going to go to Sweden. So where did they meet? In the train station in Paris. And they both, Quincy would be laughing because they both cried for about 5 minutes before they did it, before they started talking. But that's just one of the things. But, now, I mean, he and his children have a relationship. And I really mean this when I say it. I wish that I had the kind of relationship with my two children that he has with, and by the way, he has 7. Don't let him kid you. He has 7 children. But he has a relationship with them that is unbelievable because
Tell me about the relationship you have with your kids or the type of relationship you wish you had with your kids.
I mean, you have to be around. He talks about the adults, you know, like they are, you know, even when they were young, he hides nothing from them. When I tell you nothing, I mean nothing. So, and it's a very hugging, loving family when they're all together. You know, we were just there for Father's Day, and my family, and just to watch him with his grandchildren. He has 4 now, and with his oldest daughter, Jolie, with Kadada, who gives him holy hell, which I love. I mean, he's just, but the way he handles everything, it's just unreal. I mean, well, I won't get into that. I'll just wait till the next question.
Yeah, shell peeking in the front. Tweaking a light. What about taping up this piece of light in the back? Frame? Yeah. That's perfect. Still rolling? When Quincy has a good feeling for an artist, like say he has something up and he calls you, how does he know that?
Well, I'll give you a prime example. There's a young man who's very talented, and maybe needs a father figure, you know. And Quincy has made up his mind. Is Tevin Campbell. He's a talented kid. I was down in Nassau with Quincy when they opened the Atlantis Hotel. And he had James Ingram Petty, his standbys, and he had a big band with him, and Kevin came on, and he did a couple of Sinatra songs, you know, and see, 20, what's Kevin, 21, 22, maybe 23, whatever. But his manners, the way he handles, the way he deals with a lyric is just unbelievable. So Quincy told me recently, he said, Clarence, Tevin has problems, but I'm going to stick with him. And when you hear Quincy say that, I always where I say, well, how much money is he going to spend on this kid? It doesn't move him. If he believes in you, he believes in you. Period. You know, and that's the kind of guy he is. And Tevin, you know, is a very talented young man. And I would not be surprised. It certainly won't be this year, I don't believe, because he's so much now involved with his book. There ain't nothing gonna get in his way, you know. That's his Bible at this point. But an artist like Tevin, he believes in it. He ain't turned it loose. He believed in James Ingram. He believes in Brothers Johnson. You know, Brothers Johnson were guitar players. You know, didn't turn me on. But after I heard some of the things he did, it was unbelievable. Even with Wes Montgomery, you know, George Benson. Just a great guitar player. But when Quincy got through with him, he became a greater guitar player. And even, I'm not particularly care about his singing that much, but he did all right. He makes a living at it better than I do, I'm sure.
What about that thing you wrote about belly button?
I wouldn't dare talk about that. I mean, you know, that's people. I don't want. Let people go buy that book because I want to be a #1 seller. Okay. I mean, whatever I said in that book, I'm not going to repeat here because.
What about stories of racism? Has Quincy ever shared any stories where you just can't believe he's, you know?
Well, look, if you, what are we today? We're Afro Americans, I presume. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what the hell we'll be. But racism, look, it's a part of the fabric of being in America, of being an American. You know there's racism, but if you allow racism to dictate where you want to be in life, then you're not going too far. Quincy has had his share of racism, and it bothers him, but not to extent where he's going to moan about it or brew about it, because that ain't going to happen. He just finds a way. I mean, even with his first marriage, I mean, there was heavy racism, but it didn't stop him. They married. But, Quincy's been married so many times. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. 3 or 4 times, 3 times at least anyway. But racism just something that you have to deal with when it comes up. You certainly don't let it just destroy you, because if that was the case, he would never be successful. You just it's like wading in the water, man. I mean, hell, you wade in the water until you get out of it.
Do you think, in a way, I was thinking about the Listen Up, and Miles is gone and Dizzy's gone. Quincy grew up as a jazz guy. In a way, he's the last of a certain, or one of the last.
He is. I mean, and it's kind of sad. He called me. He called me in Canada on Saturday and told me that our good friend, certainly Quincy is much closer to him than I am, Clark Terry. Clark Terry's a trumpet player, used to be with Duke Ellington, and Clark has cancer, and he's quite concerned about it. Quincy's on the telephone with Dr. Norton from the Martell Foundation, and he's trying to help Clark. I mean, it might be hopeless because he has cancer in 2 or 3 places. It doesn't make any difference. If Quincy, if he feels you, ain't nothing he'll do anything in the world for you. Now, yes, Dizzy, Miles. I remember he and I went to the hospital to see Miles before he died here in L.A. And there's not many people left today, I mean, that he worked with. Lila Hampton is still alive. Lila's got to be, 93, 94 years old. But all of his real friends, like Clifford Brown and J.J. Johnson, and all the people he really grew up with and worked with the exception of Ray Charles. Him and Ray are still extremely close. But I can't. Benny Carter is still here. He's very close to Benny. As a matter of fact, Benny was at, when was it? I think it was before Thanksgiving we were there, and Benny was there. I mean, and he stays in touch with whoever's out there. He's really, and he acknowledges all of these people in his forthcoming book. He's thankful for what he learned from those people. And I will say to anybody, when this book comes out in October, read it. You can start with any chapter you want to, believe me, and it's like a scrambled egg, it's, whether you start with 3, or 9, 15, or 33, doesn't make any difference. My wife was yesterday on the plane, and she was reading a couple of chapters, and she'd give it to me. Then I'd go back in the back and read something. But then you just can't believe the things that took place in his life. It's unbelievable.
What about Africa? I know I've seen the Listen Up Foundation stuff. Why do you think Quincy cares so much about it?
Well, because number one, he's extremely close to Mandela. He's very sensitive to this whole South African apartheid when it was there, whether it was there or not, because I'd never been there. But when Mandela, before he was released from jail, Quincy had visited South Africa. And maybe that's one thing I did not do. But when Mandela became president, I was invited to go, but unfortunately I couldn't go because I had the gout at the time. And because we were going together on I should say this, on the president's plane or the government's plane, because there are 2 planes down. And I don't know in my mind if I hadn't have been sick, I don't know if I'd have gone, because I don't like crowds like that. it doesn't bother him, but it bothers me. I'm always, what's going to happen. And I remember he called me from there. He says, "Man, you won't believe this." He said, the biggest vibe was from when they introduced Castro. I said, "Why was such a vibe about Castro?" Then you had to go back and think, because Castro's involved in Africa. And God knows I certainly have a lot of respect for him. But Quincy and Mandela are extremely close. As a matter of fact, he's trying to, well, he's not trying, he's building, has a thing where he's building homes down there. And he's very much involved with that,
Bill Clinton. I know you.
Bill Clinton.
Why does Quincy connect with Bill Clinton?
Because Bill Clinton Bill Clinton is a very brilliant man. And he is a lot of fun. When during the nomination process, or whatever you want to call it, before he became president, Quincy, really wasn't sure. But then he gets involved with the inauguration, and he produces the show for him. And him and Clinton are extremely close. As a matter of fact, he called me about 3 weeks ago. And he had sent Clinton an email. Clinton had emailed him back, and they met. So it'll be a half an hour. The half an hour turned out to be 3.5 hours. That's the kind of guy Quincy is. And so Clinton, Clinton knows all about these musicians. You can name them. He can tell you like that who they were and whatever. So you might say he's hip. And Quincy is the kind of person that likes somebody that can talk about the past tense, the Sinatras, this one or that one, And so Clinton's into all that stuff. I don't know where he had time to learn all that, but he certainly knows it. He's a very bright man, very likable guy.
That's great. Do you think? What do you think is Quincy's greatest accomplishment outside of his family and stuff? You mentioned the Sinatra at the Sands album, but is there one thing that people going to point to Quincy and say that was?
How would I think when you compile everything about Quincy and look at it, it would be extremely hard for me to pinpoint any one thing. I think his accomplishments are, what are you talking about? The Grammys, or talking about the film scores, or talking about the people he's produced. It's nonstop. I've never seen anybody in my life get more nomination for the Grammys than Quincy Jones. Every time he turns around, there's a nomination. He's being honored by somebody 3 or 4 times a year. You see, I could never do that. That'd drive me nuts. So when you look at those things, you got to say, well, is there any one particular thing? It'd be kind of hard for me to pinpoint that at this time. Now with him, he's excited, so excited about the book. And I would have to say his closest friend in life was probably his brother Lloyd. And that was a big loss. I knew things about his family that I never discussed with anybody because it wasn't necessary for me to discuss with anybody. But it's certainly, when one reads this book, you're going to be shocked because it's all there. He didn't hide anything. And I got to give the guy credit. Whether with whether Clarence Avant would have ever been frank or not, I don't know. I doubt that, But he hides absolutely nothing about his family, which I felt was extremely personal. But he wants the world to know where it fitted in, because you talk about a mother and father, it can be pretty rough. And when you read that, other day in Toronto, I was reading a chapter about his mother, and I was so full of tears because it's so emotional. But you have to understand the guy who was expressing his feelings, and I know him, and I know how he thinks, and and I even said to him, I said, man, he said, no, Clarence, he said, I gotta get it out. I gotta let it all out now. I want everybody to understand me and what this relationship was, and my brother, my father, because, he talks about the three of them, not the four of them, and it was extremely important to him. So pinpointing something in his life, no, man, I can't do that. I mean, there's Steve Ross stories, there's Peggy Lipton's, there's all kinds of stories about Quincy. And just to pin one would be, no, I would never do that.
Do you think the aneurysm changed him?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yes. But I tell you one thing, he'll tell you quick, I'm going to live it out. And his whole thing, his philosophy is, Clarence, I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to enjoy my life, and I don't really give a you-know-what who criticize the way I live, about my love affairs or whatever. I'm going to live my life. And he lives his life, believe me. He's very spiritual, which I'm not that much, but he is. He can, he's just with it, man. He's got, if there are four corners in the world, Quincy's right in the middle of all of them, and it all works for him. He makes it work for him. He communicates well, even with the technology today, man. I mean, he is so on it, with it. He gave me a computer. I said, man, I ain't turned the damn thing on yet. Which I am, 2 years old. I'm still getting faxes and emails and things I'm not into, because he said one time he called me from Switzerland where he was over there for some conference. I'm going to email you. I said, don't email me. I'll email. Well, send a fax, email. I don't know how to get it off of the computer. I mean, he's just a guy, man, that, and we talk sometimes 3 or 4 times a week, no matter where he is in the world. He's always sending you something. in Montreal, he sends me this note, and with huge, me and my wife, a huge bouquet of flowers and a bottle of champagne. And I said, Jack, what are we going to do with these flowers? I mean, we're leaving tomorrow. Doesn't make any difference. It's for Quincy, so you have to figure out what you're going to do with these kind of things. But he never forgets a birthday, and he, even on Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving Day, he sends something. And I said, man, my wife, I don't be sending her no damn Valentine's on this, but I mean, box of candy will come, this will come, a book will come. I mean, he just never forgets. He's always giving, man. Mm.
That's great. Last question. How is he a leader? We talked a little about Clinton, we talked about Mandela, but it's like everyone he touches, he somehow leads.
Yeah, I know when he was raising money for this show he was doing at the White House for Clinton, and as the Millennium Show, he was having a hard time raising money. And he called me and he says, man, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I need XXX. And it was, and I'm not going to give the person's name who, two of them, they're very big Republicans. But one of them gave in excess of $400,000. And I don't believe anybody other than Quincy Jones was able to get that money from these two people that I know. I mean, he has a kind of vibe, man, where he can, because people believe in him. I was just reading a while ago where he's being honored on my mother's birthday, the 18th of August. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here, I don't think. I'm going to be in New Jersey with her. The Mancini, what is it? The Mancini, whatever it is, Foundation is honoring him. So I looked on there and I said, well, who is the coach? Who the co-chairs? Is Jan Parencho and his wife. So he knows everyone. You walk in the room with Quincy Jones, man. I mean, here's my story with Quincy. I always tell people, if God came here tomorrow afternoon to visit for whatever reason, before he left, he would say, where's Quincy? And I guarantee God would call him, because this is the way, I mean, he is so liked. And I'm not, and I tell you, man, I mean, and his memory is so unbelievable. He keeps on, if you ever go in his house, man, look at all the damn files and papers, and he keeps everything. Me, I throw it out. He knows about, I mean, last year, before my daughter got married, he certainly did trick me. He had to do something in Paris for, I don't know who it was, a minister of culture, I guess, had him do something on the Ellington, the Harlem piece. And he used a full orchestra, 100 and some odd pieces. So my daughter she got married. She married on the 16th of September last year. And so naturally, a wedding, there's budgets and whatnot. And so that evening going into the dinner, I walk into the dinner and I see this 18, 20-piece band. I said, what the hell is this? I never okayed this. And this is God's truth. I got so angry, but I because you have a wife and, my sister was at the table, and I just kept, my wife said, would you shut the hell up? Just be quiet. Now, and I still was very angry. Now, first of all, I was nervous anyway because the wedding, so I was wet, so I had to go up in the hotel room and change clothes and come back down. So when Nico's husband got up, and and I was still mouthing about, Nico's going over budget. She didn't tell me about this 18-piece band. And then I heard the guy, when I went in, he says, we are from New York, and I'm saying the airfares, the hotel bills, the food. Who the hell's paying for? So David gets up and he thanks everybody and says, well, Nico gets a call from Quincy, and we had already booked the band, the small group that we wanted for the wedding, but Quincy insisted upon that the band that he had used in Paris, part of it, he wanted this to be part of your wedding, because he said, Clarence is so into Duke Ellington, and this is a Ellington unit. I mean, and he says, I want him to be happy. So when David got up and said that, I was so embarrassed, because my whole thing was, who the hell's paying for it? Not, I didn't think about Quincy. I would have never thought of my life. But, and when the guy got up and says, we've been in L.A. for 2 days, and all I can think about, well, who the hell's paying for this hotel bill? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? But that's the kind of person he is. He shocks you. I mean, 4 years ago, I think it was 4 years, 3 years ago maybe, when he calls a couple of days for Christmas. Let's go to Vegas. Vegas. I'm not into Vegas. Jackie says, well, we might as well go. I want Alex and Nico to come too. Okay, my two chip, fine. We all went. It's like a family, That's the way he and I, jail. I mean, If it's Father's Day, if it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, he wants his family, and my family's usually a part of it. And his friendship is something that is indescribable to me. I mean, and I don't think we haven't had our fights, because we have great ones, but it means absolutely nothing. You can't stay mad at Quincy Jones. It's a waste of time, because he has a way of hugging you, or send you these little notes with love, I love you, and all that stuff. I said, well, if I wasn't a man, I could never tell a woman I loved her, because shit, Quincy just uses so much, it confuses me.
That's beautiful. That's perfect. I really thank you for your time. And I'm just thrilled that he's been so...
And if you travel with him, and that's another thing. I mean, I don't care if you're in England, France, Germany. I'll tell you this story.
Actually, would you mind going back to your original?
Oh, like this?
Thanks.
About 4 years ago, there's a restaurant called Dre's, I think it's on La Cienega, wherever it was. I get a telephone call about 7:30. Jackie answers. She says, well, Quincy wants us to come to Dre's. I said, for what? Well, he's got a friend. She's a princess. She's from Germany. So we go. I didn't know what the hell to expect, who it was.
I'm so sorry. Can we just take that from the top? We had a real problem.
Oh.
Sorry. That's okay.
I was
Some camera problem. But just start with Dre's, if you would.
Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, I mean, it was 4 years ago, Quincy calls me to meet him at Dre's, Jack and myself, and I said, for what? Jackie says, well, his friend is there from Germany. She's a princess, so we go, and this lady was there with her cigarettes, and darling, said here, I've heard so much about you. Quincy just loves you. So I'm sitting there, and who is this woman, So, and who comes in? Clint Eastwood and a couple of other people, and we all sitting there just talking, and I'm sitting there nervous as hell about this princess. I didn't know what the hell to say to her. I'm sitting next to her. So she says, darling, I want you and your wife to come to wherever it was in Germany for an opera. Opera, for me, with an opera, that's like, I ain't into opera, I'm in country and western, but of course my wife's, she wanted to go, and Quincy said, well, man, I'm going and you should go, but at that time I didn't wear tux, and you had to be very formal, and I said, Jackie, why are we going to waste our time going to Germany for a damn opera? Oh, this has been a new experience. Quincy's his friend. We should go. So I had to have a suit made. So then I called the lady to tell her that we were going to accept her invitation. Now, with names, I know my name half the time, but people's name I just forget. So I called her because she'd give me her number, because she wanted to know if we were going to come, because tickets were very hard to get. This is for this concert. So I called her. I says, Princess Grace. She says, oh, Jesus, this got to be Clarence. Call me Princess Grace. His name was Glorious. So when she told Quincy said, man, he said, Lisa, she said, Grace Kelly is dead. Get her name right. But it was the experience that I will never forget as long as I live, because to get me to go way to Germany to opera, and it was, and when I says to Princess Gloria, I says, well, Jack and I are going to accept your invitation to come in to the concert to hear the music of Wagner. That's what I thought it was. Wagner, Clarence, not Wagner, Wagner. Go, and we stayed in her castle. and it was fun until one thing. We were touring the castle, and we get to this room, and I saw these little red lights going downstairs. So I asked the guy, I said, what are these lights for? He said, oh, that's where 24 of the Prince family is buried. I said, well, get me the hell out of here, quick. Now, so Quincy, after the concert, he said, what did you think about the concert? And I said, I'm going to be frank with you. I said, I enjoyed it. And I had to be honest, I took pills to stay awake, man, because that would have drove me nuts. But back during the early days of my life, I used to, every big band that was out, I knew whether it was Jimmy Dorsey, Tommy Dorsey. And so I said to Quincy, this music sounds just like Stan Kenton, because it was very harsh. He says, you're right, man. And because I couldn't write a note to save my life, but he picked up what I said, and I said, it sounds just like, and it did sound like, Stan Kenton to me. And it was an experience, and I've been in a lot of situations with Quincy of these natures where you go to these places with him and you meet the world. I mean, the last thing I'm going to say to you was about 6 years ago.
10-minute comments. Have you ever been around someone like that? You go places with someone and it seems like they know any and everybody. Let me know in the comments.
Eddie Broccoli, one of Quincy's closest friends. He used to own a company called Barclay Records. Him and his ex-wife, Nicole, she's since passed. So we were in the south of France, and so Quincy called and says, hey, man, Ed has given me a party wherever the little city was, and you have to wear white. Of course, my wife, when you with your wife, you say go, they want to go. So we go to this party. It's right on the, and I'm not sure because I was corrected in Monaco when I told the guy, I said, well, the ocean, he said, no, it's a sea. I don't know the sea from the ocean, so I'm not sure what it was. But wherever this party was, there were about 400 people. And when you walk in, you had like 6, 7 chefs with all kinds of food, which Quincy loves to drink and wines. He'll send you a bottle of wine. And, to me, he said, man, you don't a kid I know that puts ice in red wine, which I do. I'm not into wines, And this evening, there were like 6 chefs, Chinese, this, that, and the Basie band, which is his love thing. The Basie's band was playing. There was another band, with 400 people. All you just walk around. There was something to do at all times there, and everybody was there. When I say everybody was there, from Streisand to Oprah to you name it. He just has that kind of connections. Where everybody connects with him, and this is why I say to you that he's a rare species. Out of all the people I've met in my life, I've never met anybody like Quincy Jones. He rarely gets angry, but oh, God forbid when he does get angry, then he's rough. But getting angry, when Quincy gets angry tomorrow, it didn't happen. Yesterday, because it's all over with. He pays you absolutely no mind. You can cuss him out, he can cuss me out. It doesn't mean absolutely nothing. And this is the kind of friend that is rare.
One last question. What's the kind of stuff? I've never seen him angry. What does Quincy get angry about?
The only time really in Europe I saw him get angry one night when a reporter started asking him about one of his ex-wives. And he went totally insane because, first of all, his life was open book. everybody knows about is whoever he's involved with. But even with his children, I remember, and the one that tickles me more than anybody is Kidada. You know, one night Eddie Murphy was at his house. He calls me up. He says, "Well, man, you know, Kidada is so sweet. Clarence, you come in and give me a big hug. She's going to bed, and she said how much she loved him." So about 2:30, he decided to go into the room, go in there because she was staying with him. Go in the room and just, you know, hug her and pet her or something. And he said, looked in the bed, and the bed was all the pillows and whatnot. He had to look at the window. The window was open, sealed open. She had gone out someplace. He calls me, "I'm going to kill her." I said, "Quincy, shut the hell up. You ain't going to do nothing to her." He started to laugh. He said, "Clarence, she is the biggest, which she is. I mean, to see them two together is just unbelievable. See him and Jolie, Rashida, all of them, Rachel, they just have a vibe, man. It's unreal. And
Help me pass the vibe to other people by clicking like on this video. Help me get this video to 1,000 likes.
he's so in that word love. He's so in love with him. I think I just can't do it. I mean, that's where I fall apart, man. I mean, I tell somebody I love them, man. Hell, I ain't gonna tell you one time. You know, it's like, you know, your wife asking me she would do our 25th anniversary. I said, I do one time. That's enough for me. I watched Quincy go to it 3 or 4 times. You know, he enjoys it. You know, I mean, he doesn't give what anybody thinks about him and his love affairs. He really doesn't care, because I know the lady he has there now, he's very much in love with her. A very beautiful young lady. And when he called me and when he was bringing her home with him, he called me from Europe and he says, I said, "Quincy, you're not going to do it." He said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Man, she's young. So what?" I said, "Well, man, you know your chiefs are my children." He said, "Clarence, I'm going to live my life." He said, they have to live, they have to deal with what they got to deal with. But he said, "This is my life, and I'm going to live it my way." And he's really not concerned what anybody thinks about it. He really doesn't care. And believe me, there's been some crazy comments, because when you see the difference in age, you know, it's a big gap. It doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother him at all. He's a determined man. Right now, nothing is more important to him than this book. Well, the next thing is important. He's building a new house, which to me is, I said, cute. You really want to do it? Yeah, man. He said, "Clarence, if I live in it one day, I want to be happy living in it." And that's just the way he thinks, man. He ain't interested in, well, tomorrow I might not have no. He said, "Well, hell, I might not be here tomorrow. I'm just going to live my life." That's his whole philosophy.
Thank you so much.
Well, I hope it came out okay, you know.
These are great stories. And and we're interviewing Quinton next week. So feedback to him. We're, you know, Bubba, as Quincy said. I said, well, I guess if you think of Lester Young as Prez, then he's Bubba. But,
well, he has a name for everybody, believe me.
Yeah. Does he have a funny name for you?
Oh, yes, he does. And I'm suing Quincy, because in his book he has me as Sweet Potato and Bump. And when he found out that when I was born in North Carolina, and we were so poor, the only thing I had to carry to school was Sweet Potato. And for some odd, I don't know how he found out. And boy, he has not stopped. So when he sent me this package of this the champagne and the flowers in Montreal, he had on his note, "I've hired ex-lawyer, and so we'll see you in court." Because I told him, I said, "Quincy, I'm going to sue you." He says, "Well, great." So he's already got his lawyers lined up. Of course, it's a joke, you know, but that's the kind of guy he is. Unbelievable. My friend, Mr. Jones. I call him the Q.
He Saida Guerra was telling us that nicknames. It's like he does have a nickname for everyone who's.
Oh man! But I used to say to him, I said, you should have been a writer for television, because he comes up with lines, man, that are so original and so crazy. I mean, I used to go with him sometimes when he was doing the Red Fox show, and he'd come up with lines that even Red would have to laugh, because the guy, he's brilliant. He really is.
Again, we need to sit for 20 seconds in silence just for a thing called room tone, and then we're done. This is room tone.
Room tone.
And room tone. So
You guys got it.
Try and clean up as quick.
We learned quite a lot about Quincy through the lens of Clarence Avant. Tell me your thoughts about both of these men in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.